Welcome to No Tact Talk. We're back at it again with another episode. I'm feeling so much better from last week. If you heard the last episode, I was just kind of in my feels. I know I'm usually pretty happy and excited and, on one pretty much. But last week, man, just kind of got to me. But I hope you kind of gleaned something from it and enjoyed it. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm going to do her bio here in a second. She has a very professional bio. Let me just say that first. When she sent it to me, I was like, wow, look at you. Right? But I knew she had more to add to it, but, sometimes you got to shorten it up, right? But she got the meaty, the grits of it. But we have an author here today. But just a reminder as well, to stay positive through all of this. I think that this particular episode, because it got pushed back 2 or 3 times because it was my fault. But I still think it was pushed back on purpose because I had to get that out and I was sad. And the book is called God, the Graphic Designer. And I was reading through it, actually through all of that stuff, and prior to me recording it, and it made me feel so much better. So I'm going to say that was God's timing, right? It was also me having to work through my schedule and work, but I'm going to still say it was God's timing. Anyway, so we have L'Oreal Henderson here. And she starts off with a quote in her bio saying that passion, faith, and creativity are the beliefs to live by when it comes to dreaming. And that belief she has carried to what it's carried her to what she is today. She was born and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Henderson made it her mission to always be driven by her dreams and never complacent in her pursuit. As a graduate of Austin Peay State University with a bachelor's in art and education, she has used her artistic talents to aid her spiritual gifts. We're going to talk about those too, because the girl can draw. The girl she a whiz with the graphic design. We'll get to that in a second. This not only allow her to express her true artistry and her craft, but also gain a deeper relationship with God. Her work is a reflection of her true identity, and it continues to be fueled by the support of her family and close friends. So with all that being said, welcome.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Don't want to put the applause right there. How you doing? Good.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm doing good. My stomach hurting. I think I drank too much the other day.
That's not good.
I got my Topo Chico. I got my Topo Chico right here, and it's making.
What is that?
Oh, man, this is a shameless plug. Topo Chico, y'all need to pay me for this, but it's like mineral carbonated water.
Huh. Okay.
Yes, I always drink it. It makes me burp, and it makes it's like ginger ale without all the sugar.
Okay, so it's like one of those home remedies. Some people would say
no
drink ginger ale.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll work. That'll work.
Because what's the old ginger ale they used to give you? Use Canada Rock
ale,
or
but
something.
Is it Canada Dry, and then there was another.
It's some Buffalo Rock. I couldn't find no Buffalo Rock today.
Really?
Because the Canada Dry.
Canada Dry.
It got like 50 grams of sugar, and I'm trying to, watch my sugar intake.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm trying, but it's a process.
Just to kind of give people an idea, L'Oreal is a multifaceted individual, and I'm gonna give a shout out because the logo that you see as you were looking at or listening to the podcast or on the website, she did that. All right, she did that. And every time, you see people on Facebook and everything, tag a graphic designer, tag this and the third. I'm like, nah, I already sent it. LST Designs, baby. LST
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. No, it's all love. I appreciate it. I'm so glad you liked it. It's all love. UNT are my family, so I had no problem, working with you guys, and obviously being like family. It was nothing. So I'm really glad that you guys liked it.
When did you realize that you could draw? Draw?
Oh man. From when I was a kid, honestly, as early as I can have, as early as I have memories, I remember drawing. Actually, you can't see my office, but in my office, I actually have my first drawing that I ever did, and my parents saved it as a kid.
What was it?
It's just stick figures of.
It's probably an advanced stick figure.
I don't know. I mean, to some people, they're not sticks; they're circles. So maybe that.
Can you draw a perfect circle? You know how people can say freehand the perfect circle, pretty much.
I can't freehand, but I can make it look like it was freehanded, maybe.
Ooh.
But it practice. Who knows?
Yeah,
but my parents thought it was great, so I kept it, and ever since then, I've always known that there was something to art. It was more than just, drawing and just doing something for fun, or like, when we would be in class, they would tell
Yeah.
people, hey, let's do this. I always knew there was something to it, but my parents helped me tap into it more
The only
growing
thing
up.
I ever drew was stick figures, of course. I used to draw them Dragon Ball Z figures, like
Hey,
Goku.
that's what's up. Yep,
But
yep,
I could
yep.
never
Everybody
get the
did.
face right. I do like the muscles and the hair, but I
But that
couldn't.
was the most important part anyway, because the facial
It
expression was
was
changing
trash.
all the time anyway. It's okay. Well,
I
art's
consider myself
subjective.
a professional doodler. So when I'm in class
Yeah,
or something, I just go in on the sticky notes and
and
I
there's
just
nothing
like
wrong with that.
I do like all the logos and stuff for my phone. So I like an Instagram logo. I'm good at like shapes,
That's fine.
buildings.
That's fine.
So how did you how did you evolve into like because we're gonna get to your book here in a second, but
Sure.
just to kind of shout you out on the graphic design piece, which ties perfectly, ironically, with the
Yeah.
book, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you? Well, what made you want to start the business, or how did you
Sure.
say, hey, because you grow up, draw me, do this, or you do little stuff
Yeah.
here and there, but what made you kind of really want to monetize it because it's official,
Sure.
right? The
Right. Yeah.
contracts, let's not downplay it because that's what people are gonna think. Well, you just know her, she just does. No, like the contract is tight. The work
Appreciate
is
it.
official. And it's a variety because a lot of graphic designers only kind of like one trick ponies. They just got like that
Hmm.
one thing, but you're
Yeah.
very diverse. So how did you get into that?
Appreciate it. Yeah. So growing up, my parents put me in private Christian schools growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the stuff that I was in taking, it was great, but I took to art specifically. And I
Mm-hmm.
had a middle school teacher, I think her name was Miss Thomas. I wish I could find her on Facebook, but I have no idea where she is. But
Yeah.
she played a huge part in helping me develop as an artist. Because before I met her, it was just kind of doodling here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But she's the first person that helped me get into portraiture, which to me, graphic design is also something that I do, but I would say my niche would definitely be drawing.
Yeah.
And I started doing portrait drawings. I started doing pictures of dogs and family members, and it got to where a lot of people were like, "Hey, I'll pay you to do this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe there's something to this." And I used that, but by the time when I transitioned into college, you realize, okay, you're not the only person that can draw when you're sitting in
Yeah.
an art studio, and it advanced to not just drawing portraiture, but figure drawing and all different things, and
Mm-hmm.
getting exposed to a whole world of art that you're not used to.
Okay.
It kind of created that, it enhanced the dream that I already had in my head. Like I always knew, both my parents are registered nurses, so I grew up watching them help people.
And so you didn't
And
get into the medical field?
absolutely not. I don't do blood. I don't do things that fall out the body. Like that's not that's
You had a
not
stomach
me.
for it.
No, man. But the care that my parents have, my
Okay.
dad worked in the ER, and my mom, she did OB for a while and then did other types of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I still wanted to help people. I wanted to help people, but I wanted to use my art to help people, use my art as a tool to be able to help in a different way.
Yeah.
So how they have scalpels and all these other things, I wanted to use my pencil and my
Mm.
computer and different things to change lives. And so when I got to college, that actually helped me push the dream that I had. And when you're in art school, it's not just about drawing. You have to experience um, a wide range of mediums. So like
Yeah.
painting, photography, all these different things. And for
Like
me,
clay
I just
work
couldn't pick.
too, like the
Yeah,
physical aspect
everything.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing because my degree is in art education, but I also have a psychology minor, to where there was a point where I wanted to do art therapy as well. So I couldn't figure out
What's
the
art
avenue or the lane.
therapy?
So art therapy is a way. It's just in the words. It's basically you would be going to therapy, but you're using art as a way to express yourself. A lot of people,
Really?
the best example people would use would be, if you have a child who's struggling
Mm-hmm.
at home, you would have them draw a picture. Hey, tell me about draw me a picture of what your family looks like, and
So there's
based
the
off of
stuff that
how
I
they
see on
depict it.
TV, the scary stuff though, like the little kid drawing like the
Yeah,
mom killing the sister or something.
I mean, it's probably not far off, and like obviously, like my degree is not in that, so I'm
I'm
not an
just
expert. Let
saying.
me put that out there, but
We was watching some episode like a New Amsterdam or something, and the girl
yeah,
she was doing the same thing with Iggy. If you
yeah,
watch the show, Iggy is like my favorite character, and I mean she was real sweet, but I think like her she like choked her brother out or something. It was real
oh
dark. Yeah,
goodness,
it was crazy. But they Iggy had her draw, which kind of makes
yeah,
sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was some dark stuff.
Yeah, and it just depends. I mean, like for me, I knew that with that career, everything anything could come up, but
Yeah.
I knew that between all these different careers, I would find my way. And I started graphic design because with my sorority, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Okay.
Shout out to you
Okay.
guys. Shout out to you guys. But I wanted to help the organization. At the
Mm-hmm.
time I had different roles, but when you're in college and you're trying to promote things that you're doing on campus to make change and effect there,
Yeah.
you're wanting to have stuff look decent. So I started off honestly just doing flyers for the sorority for free,
Okay.
and it just being a part of that. But then as I progressed after I graduated, I realized, okay, well, I want to be able to affect change in my community. How can I do that? Let me help people who are actually trying to bring change. So
Okay.
my way of helping was helping other organizations, doing different work with church groups. I did work with Zach Boog out in Nashville.
Hey.
I almost had an opportunity to work with Fantasia, but some stuff fell through. But it's been a journey, and I realized that with graphic arts, that there was a lot of opportunity there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not. I don't just do graphic design, but I have a lot of things that I do personally as an artist because it
Yeah.
helps me express myself and get out
Well,
the things that
the
I need
first
to.
one
It's
I saw,
therapeutic
I
for
remember
me.
early back was that I think it was a ballerina, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That one got you. It
She,
was really,
which,
really good. We need to
yeah,
put that in the description or some like a link to it or something. It's like
absolutely,
it was
yeah.
like almost like realism. Like I thought it was like almost like a picture when I saw it. And he showed it
Yes,
to me.
I love realism. I'm
Okay.
not so much an abstract person. Abstract art is awesome. Shout out to people who do it, but it's subjective. So it's all
Yeah.
about what you think it is and your interpretation. But for me, I like to reflect what I see,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's my strongest point. And I like to draw and create things that make an impact on me and inspire me. And so
Okay.
a lot of my art is also it also ties into my writing, because when I was in high school, I had a professor. I took English, and I'm pretty decent at English, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it at first. And the guy was saying, do journaling and all that, and I was doing it before, which is
Mm-hmm.
how I got stuff for the book. But when he allowed me to be able to add in my drawings in the middle of my journals, I think that kind of like,
Yeah. I remember we talked about
that.
that in the book, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. So one thing I noticed too was the first thing that draws me to this book is the cover. It's like a drawing
Oh,
pad.
yeah,
Am I
yeah.
tripping? I remember it's like the
It's
texture of the book is like what is
Yeah. So for me, growing up, I hated reading. I'm gonna be upfront, 100%.
me too.
I hated
Okay,
I hated
sometimes. Yeah.
reading. I had learning disabilities growing up, and that
Mm-hmm.
I'm dyslexic, and I had dyscalculia and all that. So it's a
Okay.
issue with words and math and all that mixed into one. I hate word
When
problems
I
was
saw
the
that, I was like, I have to have that
bro.
math one too. I looked it up. I
Yeah,
was like, listen,
yeah.
I
My
tell people
parents
all the
actually
time. Go
tested
ahead.
me. Yeah, my parents tested me because I that nobody believed in, and they couldn't understand why they had tutoring, all these different
Man.
courseworks, and it still didn't work. And so for me, I wanted to for somebody who picks up the book and they have never read a day in their life, like they really like casually, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's read summer reading list books. Half people, y'all probably skipped it anyway. I know I did, but to intentionally pick up a book, I wanted
Mm-hmm.
every single aspect of it to be something that you would remember, from the way that you feel, what you see, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're reading, and try to tap into as many senses as I could. And I was like, what if I did like a matte finish? Because most books you get are like real glossy, or they're
Yeah.
like
They wanted to
textbook
stick out.
materials.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I wanted it to be something that you could, like a little black book that you could put in your back pocket or your purse and take with
Yeah. Were you
you.
scared to write your first book? This is his first book, right?
This is the first book that people know about. Yes, my
Oh.
my very first book. I was in. Oh man, it's really crazy. I was in the fantasy, and I wrote something in middle school, and I had an English teacher that liked it, but I never did anything with it.
When
She
you
told
when
me
you
to
get
publish it.
famous, it's gonna be one of them things before the fame type books.
Yeah,
My
you
early
never know.
releases. You better hold on to
Right,
that.
right. I still got it, man. It's got dust all over, but I still got it.
How do you how do
But
you how do you make up in your mind that I want to write a book? Because everybody has something to say, but I looked up a bunch of different times about how to write one, but
yeah,
it don't matter how the book becomes or how the book came into fruition. You did it, and
Right.
How do you even start that?
So this gonna sound real cliche to people listening, like, oh no, but legit, I felt as though this was God telling me to write a book. Like, that's never been. You can ask Terrence, my husband. You can ask
Yeah.
him or anybody in my close circle. That's not something that I wanted to do. I didn't realize what I was already doing was a book. And what I mean by that was when I was younger, a lot of the ways for me to cope alongside of my creative art, like the visual art, I would do journaling.
Okay.
And my god sister Audra, she would get me involved in, having a journal to just express myself. And I'm like, well, what if I want to put something in there that I don't want people to know, or what if it's good? She's like, put every emotion that you have in the
Yes.
journal.
Yes.
And it started off being therapeutic. Then I kept going, and I'm like, well, maybe this would be dope. When I was younger, I found little love notes from my mom and all that. So I'm like, oh man, this was nice to be able to see what your parents were thinking back then. And so it was like, well, I can keep doing this and give it to my kids, mainly my daughter. And then it grew into more of, okay, this is me really using my life to change people. And the turning point for me of how I knew that it was supposed to be a book, me and Terrence had just relocated to Nashville.
Yeah.
And we were in a transition, and I got a job. Bro, I got fired from that job 2 weeks into it. And it was horrible. And I got to the job, and the job was boring. I won't call names, I won't say anything like that, but
Right.
the job just had me doing something very simple and tedious, and it didn't work for me mentally. So my way of coping, I would have a notebook, and I would just sit there and doodle my thoughts and draw my thoughts and write my thoughts out. And for 2 weeks straight, and then towards the end of those 2 weeks, I realized that what I was writing, I think I even said it out loud. I was like, man, these feel like chapters to a book. Like I'm trying to outline something, right? And then right after that, I got fired. And I'm like, God, are you serious right now? Like, why would you put me in this position? And then this happened, but I honestly believe that job I was only there for those 2 weeks to outline the chapters for the book, and to know that was God really speaking to me. Because I was able to, I think you said in one of your podcasts, being in a quiet space where you were riding in the car and you had it completely silent.
Yeah.
In that office, it was completely silent. So I had nothing but opportunity to be able to hear silence. And I think that opened up the opportunity for me to be able to hear God in a different way than I was used to. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, something you talked about in the book too, about distractions, to kind of touch on that as well. For me, I'm always playing music. I'm always got something going, I'm always talking, right? And so like, I just had to get to a point to where I had to be quiet, because I feel like the thing that you hate the most is the thing that grows you, right? And for me, it was, I hate silence, like, because I'm always thinking I need to probably practice a little bit more talking to myself right now. But God, I was just saying it in the last episode as well. He'll talk to you, and if you, because people just expect him to be like, go left, go right, do this, right? No, it's just small little inklings, and then you start to kind of separate your voice from God's voice, and it's very simple, but you just got to listen. Just kind of remind people about that, and you touched on that a couple of times too in the book. God the graphic designer. I mean, it's almost like a perfect title, right?
Right, appreciate it.
I mean, I'm just saying for you, right? For you, it's like taking who you are, what you do, your passion, making it into a book, and they're kind of feeding each other. So did it just aha moment? Like, where did that come from?
I legit had a dream. Terrence calls me Coretta because I wake up like, babe, I had a dream, babe. Let me tell you, take my dream. And he's like, seriously, not today. And I legit I had a dream. And I realized it, for me, a lot of the times for me to be able to comprehend certain stuff, I got to be able to relate it to something else. Okay. So like I'll use a lot of analogies or different things to be able, for my mind to be able to relate. And I was sitting there like, man, I was working on a design at the time, and I'm like, wow. I said, wouldn't it be dope if you thought of me actually being design and the whole process that I do to create somebody's logo or design or photograph, whatever it is that I'm creating for somebody. Yeah. That same process was put into creating me and creating my purpose. And I wanted to share that with people. You know, God is my graphic designer. He designed me specifically for a purpose and for a reason. And in that design, there's so many intricate, you know, angles and ways, and there's so many processes that he went through to create me. And with everything that I went through, with everything that I've gone through, I wanted to share, because, you know, I'm not a believer that, you know, one person can say something and that's it. You know, everybody
Yeah.
has a different story. And I wanted to share mine from a perspective of just a regular, average, everyday person. I'm not a pastor. I'm not, you know, anything specifically. I'm, you know, all the
Yeah.
titles that people normally would go for when they're looking for somebody to be inspired by. For me, I just wanted to use an everyday girl who went through things, and I want to use what I went through as a guide for somebody else to be able to take from it. You know, if you don't take from it, share it with somebody else. But my mother always instilled in me to do everything with a purpose. So if you're gonna do something, or you'll do it with a purpose. And it's funny how it started off, because my mom to this day doesn't even remember what she said. But we grew up in a household where my grandfather was military. So my mama kind of adapted that, and you would know all about that.
Of
So
course.
they were pretty strict, but we had everything broke out. It was me and my
Okay.
brother, and my cousin lived with us pretty much all his life. And when we were younger, we all had chores assigned, and my mom, I don't know about your household, but my mom would always write the chores or everything on the back of a bill. Everybody's stuff. Here's Trey's, there's L'Oreal, there's
It
Jarrell,
was just
and
me for the most
everything.
part.
That's
I'm out
so.
of five, but my dad had me. He was 41, so I was pretty much the only
Really?
child. Yeah.
Ah, man. Well,
Old
we had so
school.
many chores, it was crazy. But my mom for some reason, I always got stuck with the kitchen, and I hated sweeping, so I would always like sweep stuff like up underneath the table so she couldn't see it.
There you
It
go.
didn't work. She would find a way, but she was like, L'Oreal, she's like, I don't care what you're doing. She's like, you're not sweeping hard enough to get the dirt up. You know, you got to do what you got to do to move it to the other side. And I'm like, Mama, that makes no sense. She's like, you need to sweep with a purpose. I said, first off, who says that? I said, Mom, that makes no sense. She said, it does. Everything you
Uh-huh.
do in life, it needs to be done with a purpose. You need to put action to everything that you do. And
Wow.
so for me, it just became a motto that I never really shared it with anybody. I just kept it with me. And I'm like, whatever I do, if I'm creating, if I'm living, if I'm, in my marriage with my daughter, everything that I do needs to be with a purpose, because that's the way God intended it to be, and if I'm walking in the way that he would have me, it's going to be in the right direction. Everybody makes
Yeah.
mistakes, but those mistakes also have purpose in helping you understand who you were while you were going through it. You know what I mean?
Did you feel
And so,
yourself? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you good.
Did you feel yourself growing as you were writing the book? Because I felt like a kind of
Yes.
a evolution when I was reading it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I'm not. You know what? I consider myself like a critiquer, right?
That's fine.
I'm that
Yeah.
guy at the movies that'll critique. It's a 7.2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing with reading. Being in theology school, they teach you how to read again. And me
Mm-hmm.
by saying that is, I'm sorry. So they give you an example, because they give you so much material to read. Because in theology, it's just about L'Oreal said this, and Scholar J said that, and so said,
Mm-hmm.
right. And so it's really like no definite. So some stuff definite in the Bible, but it's really just about what the
Yeah.
last, scholar said in the last 200 years about the color
Right.
of Moses' sandals or something, right? I mean,
Right.
it's sometimes it's super random. But they teach you, so like it's kind of like a scholarly reading. So like you read the first paragraph, you read the last paragraph, and then you read kind of in the middle, and then you read the whole chapter. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
read stuff now, because you
Oh, okay.
know how the beginning is, you know where you're going, and then you're able to comprehend it quicker, and you done reading quicker as well. So
Huh. That's
similar to
dope.
that. And so, but when I was reading it, it was hard for me to do that, because that was a legit like steps. It was like
Yeah.
evolution. This is where it is, and I could tell like I think it's an interesting way that you wrote it. And now that you said you kind of you had like journal writing, you can
Yeah.
tell kind of once now that I know that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it's everywhere. But it's like, oh, okay, this is like a particular set of moment. It's like a moment in your life. This is a moment
Right.
in your life. Oh, okay, now it's like coming together. I
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting, but it was refreshing if nothing else, because I'm just used to
I
that
appreciate
structure.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool. Red dot moments.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's a red dot moment?
So the best way that I could put it um, would be, so my one of my high school professors said it when we were at I think it's like the end of the year, well, for our class, we would do like camping trips. And I
Yeah.
think we were at a camping trip at a bonfire. And he was trying to make a point to us. I have no idea what it was, but basically, the red dot would be where you are in your life, where you are in your purpose in relation to where God would have you.
Okay.
However you want to take that, wherever you are. And the best analogy that I could use for it, and what he used, was when you're at the mall and you're new to the city, you've never been to this mall before, but you need to buy some shoes, right? You're going to go and find the closest shoe store. So when you look on the map, you're trying to figure out where the red dot is to figure out where you are and in relation to how far that is to where you have to get to. So it's a journey, and
Okay.
the red dot was basically about being able to always keep yourself in check and figuring out where you are in relation to where you're supposed to be going. And it stuck with me when I was younger, and I was like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, but this just feels like I'm gonna need this later on. So let me write it now. Like I'm a huge note taker. I love taking notes because it also helps me retain. And I realized in the process of writing this book, it was twofold. Yeah, I'm telling the story of how I got to where I am, but those same stories that I went through, I'm actually reteaching myself when I would have moments of weakness.
Currently living.
Yeah. And so those red dots, it just kind of came full circle. And I don't know, that I realized that I'm taking notes throughout my life. I realized I was taking notes throughout my life. And if I really sat down to just kind of organize the thoughts and the journals, because they're all like by years, by months and all that. But when I put it all in order, wow, these are legit chapters. And if you want to look at it from a spiritual aspect, these are seasons of my life that I've been through. And what did I learn in each season that's brought me through? And so for some people, it's distractions that they're able to get their greatest revelation, rest, whatever. For me, it was legit in my struggles where I learned the most about who I was, spiritually, mentally, and all those things, and the red dot really kept me accountable and knowing where I was in relation to where I was going.
Okay.
So
that's fire. That's fire. I'm not trying to get too much of the book, but I took notes. I was paying attention.
Of course.
I thought about Call of Duty. That was the first thing I thought about. Red dot, right, focus, right in the head.
Yeah.
Pow, right? No.
Yeah.
Another.
I get it because I play Call of Duty too.
hey, we gotta play.
Yo, absolutely.
Another one that was big, and I highlighted this one and put a sticky note, was you said that it was the power of my physical gifts aiding my spiritual gifts that made the idea complete. Together, they made up the foundation of my purpose.
Yes.
I need you to unpack that for me, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that took me a while to get. I had to go through a lot of things that are, of course, in the book, but I had to go through a lot of things and really sitting down and having a conversation with who I was and who God called me to be. So the difference of what I would like to do versus what I'm called to do or what I'm supposed to do in my life to be able to, really live on purpose. And for me, I got distracted. Hold on.
Are you good? Put the commercial right here.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Say, what was your question again?
I wanted you to unpack the statement. So it was the power of my physical gifts aiding my spiritual gifts that made the idea complete. And then you said together they made up the foundation of my purpose. I'll read it again. That's good.
Okay, so yeah, so when it all started when I began my company in 2012. I believe that, okay, I'm supposed to use my art. This is my way. This is what I'm supposed to do. There's no way he would give me all these different gifts and it not be art, right? Yeah. This is what I'm supposed to do in my life. Cool, boom, I got it. I know purpose. Wrong. That was not it whatsoever, and I did graphic design for years and worked with so many different companies, and it gave me great experience, but I still felt a void. And I'm like, what is it? And as I grew and
can you describe that a little bit? I'm excited about this. I'm gonna cut you off a bunch of times. I apologize, but a purpose is like my big thing for me because I struggled for a long time, like crying for a long time because I'm like, man, like same way, God, you gave me all this stuff that I'm good at.
Yeah.
But you know how they say, what is it? I'm a master of none. I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none, or something
Yeah.
like that. Like I'm good at a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, but I
Yeah.
never felt like fulfilled. So what did that? I want to stop right there. What did that emptiness feel like? Because I want people to kind of relate to that.
Sure.
You ain't gotta like go deep, right? But just
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of,
So for me, I can only speak from the art side of it because that's when
yeah.
it kind of came to. But I would do I would create something for somebody. I would make a logo, and they would be so pleased. And I knew that it's like the moment that they saw it, they were able to operate in their purpose
Mm-hmm.
by something that I created. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I feel so great for you. I'm so happy for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But what about me? Because I'm still not
Wow.
feeling like
Okay.
whole. I'm still, I was missing something and I couldn't put my finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to this church. I went, well, back to my home church to visit because I was back and forth in college. And there
Yeah.
was this pastor, I can't remember his name, but he said it'll be uncomfortable to be unlimited and to basically have to wait on your calling. And so for
Mm-hmm.
me, I was like that. I was like uncomfortable. Wow, that's a word. Like, nobody's ever said it that way. To have so much potential and things built up to where oh man, oh my gosh, I know I'm supposed to be doing something better with my life,
Yeah.
but not yet. But not yet. And when is yet? You know what I mean? When am
Mm-hmm.
I going to get there? And how is it going to be used? So for me, one of my struggles was I had a tendency to, okay, I know I'm supposed to do this, but God is taking too long, and I'm tired of waiting, so I'm gonna just go do it myself. And so I filled the void with more art, with more things that I thought that I was supposed to be doing. I'm like, well, I know art is part of my purpose, so I'm just gonna keep doing art. I kind of had, you would get this because you're in theology. I kind of had a Saul mentality.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wait. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I was like, this isn't healthy. And there was a point where with my company, it kind of took a break. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized I was pouring out so much stuff and I got drained. And in that, me taking a rest, I realized that I was looking at it wrong. My art was supposed to be used as a tool for the spiritual gift. As I took a rest and took a break, people would start asking me different things about my life and how I overcame it. And I realized, what my spiritual gift was, to be able to motivate and encourage people. And I'm like,
Okay.
well, wait a minute, how does this tie in? I thought I was supposed to be doing art. And it was God's way of saying, that's supposed to be your tool. What I gave you physically is always supposed to aid in what you're going to. And for me,
Okay.
I looked at it like, okay, well, look at all these different people that were blessed with something amazing. Martin was blessed to be able to speak to people.
Mm-hmm.
That was his gift physically, but he was able to give spiritually in different aspects. Moses,
Yeah.
he had a staff. That was his gift right
Yeah.
here on earth,
Yeah.
but his he was leading sheep, but not realizing that later on he'd be leading people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, L'Oreal, you're doing all this art and it's great, but what if you use your art to glorify God? What if you stop using it to make yourself look good? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
L'Oreal's a great graphic designer, instead of, wow, L'Oreal used her art to change my life and put me in the right path towards my purpose. Because
Right.
it's really hard to find purpose. It's a daily walk, it's a journey. You know what I mean? But for me, I got to where I'm like, what is it that makes me, what is it that like lights a fire under my skin to where it bothers me so much that I have to change it? And me seeing people complacent, all the different things that I went through. First off, I had so many jobs, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
in all those jobs, it's taught me and it's given me the eye to be able to see so many different things that people struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the common things that I saw was people just being so complacent. And it's a broad statement, but they were complacent in their mindset. They were complacent in jobs. They were
Mm-hmm.
just everybody was just so stuck. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm supposed to speak to that because at one point I could have gotten stuck, but my parents would always say I'm very determined. I keep going because for me, I can't stop, because if I stop, there's no point. I have to
Okay.
keep pushing, and I realized that with my art, instead of you just using my art as just, whatever it is, putting that to good use and actually using it to glorify him and using my art to change lives in a different way. to actually change lives, not aid in somebody else's change, but to legit
Yeah.
make a change in somebody's life, whether it's visually, but this was my way of stepping into, I'd say, my purpose and using my words and my art full circle. You know, everything that you see with the book, I created, you know, from the
Yeah.
cover all the way to the words, designing the book. And that was, for me, that was God's way of using everything that I had for his purpose. Because after I graduated, it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to find a graphic design job anywhere. It's a very competitive market. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I went to college for all these years and I got all this debt. Can I give the degree
Give me
back and get my money
something.
back? Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it? What is going on? And he's like, no, I want you to use everything that you learned, but I want you to use it for me. You know, and that
Mm.
was something that I had to come to terms with,
That
you
pivot
know, and
point.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized, I'm like, okay, this is a journey. It's not just something that's going to happen overnight, you know, and then it's a process. Just like he designed me, and it was a process that it's going to take me that to be able to, you know, fully get to where he will have me, you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your
Yeah,
question.
definitely. Did you ever feel like in that, like when you saw people being complacent, that you was like, okay, well, I see that, you know, you're complacent, you're in this moment, you could benefit from doing something else. But did you ever say to yourself, like, who's gonna help me out? Who's gonna give me the advice? You know, who's gonna support me through all the stuff that I'm going through? Right? That's the frustrating part.
Yes and no.
Me.
Yeah, yes and no, because I had to reevaluate my circle. I had a lot of people that were just there,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily bad influences, but they were just weight. Like if you're not adding, you
Yeah.
know, that, not that they were bringing me down, but they weren't really adding to me. So once I got rid of the weight, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that the people that were in my life were legit meant to help me. Because I was one to where I don't really like asking for help sometimes, and that's something that I'm working on, and I'm getting better with it. And realizing that the relationships that I had to really reevaluate. Because I'm an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to make friends because I'm not very personable sometimes,
Yeah.
but I'm working on it and I'm learning to be open. But you know, a lot of the relationships that have helped me through the process of where I am today, they were all sent by God. Like they just came out of nowhere. Like even your wife, like I wouldn't even know you guys. Like
Yeah.
if you know, if she tells the story of how we met, you know, and she's the one, for those reading it, she's the one who wrote the forward in the book.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I wouldn't have met her had it not been for just God putting us in the same place. You know, we met at a technology company, you know,
Yep.
work,
Yep.
and it was just it was just fate. You know what I mean? And so I really feel like God removed people away
Mm-hmm.
from me and added to me. You know, Travis Green. I listened to Travis Green and his wife, Dr. Green,
Mm-hmm.
recently, really a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about Genesis and talking about when God puts Adam to sleep, and it was an amazing depiction of the
Yeah.
scripture from when he puts him to sleep and then he takes the rib out and then creates a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real spiritual, but from an aspect of just looking at it as a blanket statement, he God has to, in order for him to add to you, something else has to be distracted. You got to make room, you
Mm.
know. And so I felt like with me finally saying, okay, God, do whatever you're gonna do in my life in all aspects. And I believe that's when he just kind of faded some relationships out that weren't necessarily supporting, not in a bad way, it wasn't negative, but they weren't giving me the support that I needed to take me into the seasons that I was gonna be going through in the
Right.
future, you know. And so for me, I got really discouraged at points, but I wouldn't have made it through if it weren't for the support of the friends that I had. A
Yeah.
100%, a hundred
And that
percent.
was a part of it too. You were talking about cultivating your purpose. So I guess
Yeah,
that's one aspect of it. So what other steps do you think is a part, or you think are a part of cultivating your purpose?
yeah. Shifting your mindset. It's all in your mind. If you wake up every morning and you're, yeah, I almost wanted to quote Sister Act. If you wake up in the morning and you
Do
can't think
it.
about nothing but singing, you're supposed to be a singer. It's the same
Right.
thing, you know. If you wake, if you think about it and you start speaking the things that you want, eventually they're gonna manifest, or you're
Mm.
gonna create a determination in yourself to where you're gonna wanna pursue it. You're going to create a spark, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to be able to lure you into what you're going through. And that creates desire, you know,
Yep.
and after the desire, all these other things are going to be added to you. But it's all about changing your mindset. You know, a lot of the times when I wrote some of that stuff, I was in a place where I just didn't. the job that I was in, I worked at a call center.
Mm-hmm.
That is not for me.
Me neither. I
But
worked at 2 or 3.
yeah,
That's the messiest place on earth.
yeah,
Oh my
it
goodness.
wasn't. Oh my gosh, it wasn't the place for me.
Lord have
But
mercy.
it taught me how to speak the things that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm stuck at this call center. Okay, Loria, well, you're stuck in this place. Whatever it might be, you're stuck there. There's nothing you can do to change your circumstances because for whatever reason, maybe you need the money for bills, or maybe, X, Y, and Z. Whatever the reason is, you're stuck. But you're not
Right.
really stuck. You're stuck physically, but you're not really stuck mentally. So for me, I started looking at it as, okay, since I can't change my circumstances, I can change my response to it, and I can change my attitude towards where I am. And so I started looking
Mm.
at my job or the places that I felt stuck at as resources. Okay, while I'm here, what is it that I can learn from my circumstances that's going to aid in who I'm trying to become? While
Yeah.
I'm here, let me do my job. I'm the queen of multitasking. Let me do my job, but while I'm here, let me do something else that's going to go towards my purpose. Okay, well, I got a design that I need to work on, so let me doodle here. Or
Mm-hmm.
while I'm at this job, I also need to finish writing this chapter for this book. Let me do this. So it's all about shifting your mind and really focusing completely 100% on where God has called you to. There's a quote I mentioned in the book too, where it says, "Take up take up one idea, make that whole idea
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
your everything." And I just think that's such an amazing quote, because if you legit wake up in the morning and you focus on where you're supposed to go and
Mm-hmm.
not where you are, you're going to automatically start operating, and I'm a firm
Yeah.
believer of start operating in where you're supposed to go. That way, by the time you get there, you're prepared. And
Mm-hmm.
like if they say, okay, well, now we want to do this, we want to do XYZ, are you ready? You can say yes, versus,
Yeah.
okay, well, let me get my shoes together. I gotta find my pants. Let me iron my shirt. You're not ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're changing your mind, I think that's a huge thing, because so many people, most of their complacency comes from them having just a poor mindset. You're
They
like,
tell
I'm
people to
stuck.
be goal
Yeah,
oriented, right? So like you wake up in the
yeah,
morning,
absolutely.
make up your bed. And
Yeah,
they say, like, I think what was some statistic I read, but like you make up your bed in the morning, you've already accomplished like your
right,
first goal for the day, and it propels you to do more things.
right.
Um,
Dressing for success and all that
yeah.
stuff too. Yeah,
For me though, too, I always like to remind people of it was kind of like the way I recame or came again to Christ, is because things
yeah,
just made sense. Things had to make sense for me. Like all I know is
yeah,
when I pray, I felt better, or all I know is when I tithe, my money lasts longer, or things like that. Like it
yeah.
had to make sense, logical for me as well. And then, God did His whole thing, because what people will do, they give you all this, spiritual jargon, and
Oh, yeah.
ain't nothing wrong with that. It's all true,
No,
right?
absolutely.
But it's just like
Right.
people don't know that. So I'm at a point to where if our jobs, like your job is doing it through graphic design or writing books, whatever, right? Whatever gifts the God's giving you. Me is running my mouth. It
Right.
took me forever to
Right.
figure that out.
It's dope,
Believe it
and
or
I
not,
love it. Keep
right?
doing it,
No, right? But it was a whole story. No, but I think that we owe it to people who are not like, even raised up in church, or just like an atheist, or somebody who never even
Yeah.
touched the church, right? To give them an explanation, because we live in an information age, and you can tell somebody, well, God is good all the time, God is good. They be like, I
Yeah.
don't know who's God, you know what I'm saying? Like all the little
Yes.
the
Yeah.
isms of church
Yeah.
that we
Yeah. Yeah.
just talk about, and well, you just gotta believe, and you'll have a heart change, and this, that, and the third. Like,
Hmm.
what does that mean, though?
Right. That's it. That stuff would really frustrate me. No tag. It
Yeah,
would piss me. It would piss me off. Like,
there you
oh,
go.
God is good, or don't worry, God is always on time. Well,
Yeah,
is my clock broke? Because
right.
He ain't here yet. You
He
know what I
ain't.
mean? And so for me, I think what frustrated me, I strive to be what sometimes I know I wasn't getting when I was younger. So for me,
Mm,
I lacked, yes, you're giving me scripture, you're giving me all this wonderful. And I came from a private Christian school, so
okay.
my classes were the Bible, right? But I was bored. Like
Mm,
that doesn't relate to me. Now that I'm older, yes, I'm studying the Bible and all that, but I didn't care back then. I
mm-hmm.
give me something to where, okay, well, oh boy was struggling with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean anything to me now. Help it relate to me. So for me, I wanted to be authentic and transparent. Listen, I struggled with this. I struggled with that. Let me tell you how I struggled and what I went through, and the before and the after, so you can see. okay, there's no way that I would have made it through any of this if it hadn't been for God, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and letting people actually see the authentic side of, you know, whatever it might be. Because some people, you know, when you're ministering to people, it's not about trying to throw the Bible at their forehead. They're not gonna
Yeah.
hear it. They're gonna dodge it, or they're gonna be mad that you threw the Bible. They want to actually have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want to, you know, how I minister and how I, you know, speak to people. I'm not coming in with them with all these different scriptures, because first of all, I got a bad memory, so I'm more than likely not
That's
gonna be
how
able to
I
remember it.
am. My buddy Matt,
It's
I mean, he could throw a
horrible.
scripture at you in 2 seconds. Y'all could be walking down the
Yeah,
street and you'll trip. And
yeah,
he'd be like, you know, Moses said this, and like, I'm like, bro, I never have that. And like, I read it all
right,
the time. But all I know is
right,
when I'm talking to people, I have a feeling, right?
yeah,
And that's where the whole no tact part came from. It's like, it may not be what you want to hear, what's politically
yeah,
correct, but it's right to me, right? And it's
yeah.
something that's worked for me. And so like even like, because you know, I'm still like debating on how the preacher
Hmm.
thing gonna work or the minister, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because this could be it, right? But
But here's the
I
thing,
don't
bro.
know.
I think, yeah, but here's the thing, bro. I think you're ministering already with what you're doing,
Yeah.
because it's really just you're sharing your relationship with him. I think people care more about understanding who he is and the
Mm-hmm.
character of who he is versus all the Bible verses, because everybody can't, you know, dissect scripture the way a
Yeah.
pastor can, or a minister can, but they can recognize God through who you are. And so
Right.
for me, what I wanted to do in the book was give people a raw, authentic version of me,
And
what
you
I went
did.
through, and
Yep.
my relationship with who God was in my life. And I even say in the book, it wasn't that strong in the beginning, but as I kept going through different stuff, I'm like, man, this has got to be something, you know. And
Yeah.
so having one person, I remember at the book signing, I had a young lady that came up to me. She was an atheist, never heard
Mm-hmm.
about God. She didn't. She cared. She was away from it. Right. She was in the bookstore just by accident. I think it was fate. But she
Mm-hmm.
was in the bookstore and she was about to leave. She heard me start speaking and she stayed. The lady came up to the table and was like, "Listen, are you gonna be here? I can't afford the book, but you just really made me want to know God." She's like, "I'm actually registered." I think she said she was registered. I don't know if it's a thing, but she was registered in some kind of directory with other atheists. But
Mm-hmm.
just me having a conversation and telling what I went through on a real deal conversation, that opened the door to where I don't know anything about God, but I want to know a little bit more about him
I
just
see
because of
some
what
on
you
you.
told me,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, and that was just a blessing. It's like, okay, if I didn't write this book for anybody else, that woman now has that seed planted. And I might not be the one to water. I have no idea what her name
You don't
was.
have
I
to
don't know
be.
who she
Yep.
was, you know, but the seed was planted. And so I think a lot of times some people push a little bit too hard when it's really simple. You know, have a
Yeah.
conversation with people, get to know people, get to understand what they're struggling with. You know, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to know all the little details, but just me understanding that you're struggling in your situation, I can empathize with that and I can speak to that because I could tell you what I went through. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
That's actually a perfect segue to my next question.
Really? Yeah.
Now you talking about struggles a lot and in your
Yeah.
faith journey. So I think, where is that thing at? So I think is what struggles did you, I guess, that you had to go through. You know, I mean, whatever you want to talk about,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You talk about a faith journey and realizing God's purpose for your life. So the realizing it, we can kind of back up even before cultivating it, or just realizing it. So what struggles? Because I think something I wanted to say too was before you get to the point to where you depend on God and you, all right, I'm here, let's do it your way, God. There's like a breaking point for a
Yeah.
lot of people that I don't think that we talk about enough because it's not
Hmm.
popular, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we don't tell people, well, you might be crying in your closet one night, or we
Hmm.
don't tell people, you know, you might think about killing yourself, or we don't tell people
Right.
you might go through these identity crises or whatever, because
Hmm.
that's usually, I say about 8 times out of 10, if I had to guess,
Yeah.
where you have to be before you actually like realize that God be like, hey, I'm here the whole time, because we
Yeah.
want to be in the front seat. And for me,
Yeah.
especially, I'll say myself for the first, um, I was at the end of my breaking point in a bunch of different situations. I mean, whew, I mean, I should
Yeah.
have, never mind, but I wonder if I'm gonna have
Hey,
a
I
transparent
feel
day.
you.
But no, I
Yeah.
mean, so one time I was talking to this girl who was going in or whatever. Come to find out, she had a disease. Okay,
Mm.
and I didn't have
Whew.
it. I went and got checked, right? And if any guy
Amen.
that's listening, I'm just giving like one example.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know, right? But they, come to find out, the girl was known for being fast, this, that, and the third. And
Right.
or another time, I was supposed to have a kid, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or another time I was supposed to be fired, but God blocked it. But it's just like, how many of those times does it
Does
take?
it take?
Right. And
Yeah.
so that I'm almost done, but that's the part too where I think of God's grace, because like, yeah, I got all them bad times too. But if I could, and this way you get real Baptist, right? If I could just
Yeah.
think about all the times God has just showed
Right.
up, showed
It's
out,
gotta
but
be a hymn for that. Right.
right, and but growing up in church, like it was like, oh man, all right, God held it down, he good. No, I mean to tears. If you just sit down and think about,
Yes.
because it ain't that many coincidences in the world. It's just not.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
you think about like where God has brought you from. Yeah, it's been some hard stuff too, but it's all just, you could have been dead, or you could have you
Mm-hmm.
almost didn't make it through that wreck, or
Yeah.
it just so happened to have that surgery to fix you in the right amount of time. Like it's just all this stuff,
Yeah.
like it can't be just coincidental. And so
100%. Yeah, I believe that.
there had to be a point for you. I know, and I was reading, and I saw a lot of that in the book as well, like a breaking point, like I said. Like, what was that like for you coming out the dirt?
Yeah.
Because for me, I mean, like I said, I give my examples. Like it was just, it was like I felt like I was in a moment, a season, as you say,
Mm-hmm.
that God was like, "All right, you made it here." I mean, it felt like a legit warning. Like I felt the heat,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because like
Yeah.
I let you act up for 20 some odd years, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you got it's now or never, and I felt like I was at the end
Yeah.
of my rope, and so like. And doing that, what how do you tell somebody like, all right, see the light, or what was like your process in those struggles?
Yeah. So for me, I was going through a bunch of different cycles and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
I I'll tell you when I finally realized, but for me, a lot of the struggle I had, a lot of it came from different jobs and having financial issues and stuff like that because
Mm-hmm.
of, I'll be honest and transparent. I talk about it in the book, but I lost my job several times, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
fired, quit before you got fired, whatever. And at first, I was ashamed because nobody wants to say, if somebody calls you, hey, I know what it's like to apply for unemployment because I can do it in my
Mm-hmm.
sleep. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
talk about that, but it's real. People go through different things, and for me, I was going in all these different cycles. I said, okay, Lord, why am I going through jobs like they're rolls of toilet paper? Like I don't understand what I'm struggling. Like why do I keep having to switch? And I feel like he was saying, okay, well, you're not supposed to be there. Or when you were there, you didn't learn the lesson the first time. And so
Yeah.
for me, I was in a cycle, I was on a merry-go-round where I wasn't learning what he needed me to learn. And I believe that he kept putting me back in those situations until I actually realized what it was.
You
And
said
for
just
me,
right here, you said God will continue to fight for your heart even when you miss all the signs.
yeah, I missed 100% of them. And then it was like, okay, wait, L'Oreal. Because for me, my thing was, okay, God's not moving. I told you earlier, God's not moving fast enough. So let me figure out
Yeah.
how I can survive. Being raised as, an independent person and a strong person, you're like, okay, well, I can provide. I can take care of myself. I can do this. So it's like, yeah, spiritual, but be real. If bills
Yeah.
aren't getting paid, you're like, okay, what can I do to go out there and take care of myself or
Mm-hmm.
now or my family? And I had to sit and be like, okay, I legit I'm tired. Like I remember even, sitting in front of a grocery store trying to figure out and count how much money I had so I can get groceries for my family. And if you don't know what that's like, that's cool. That might not be your struggle, but for
Yeah.
somebody who can relate to that, you can only imagine what that felt like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then the embarrassment that comes with your struggle. It's not just it's the pressure of the struggle, but how are other people gonna view you struggling? Or are you trying to keep it all together? And
Yeah.
at some point it's just gonna all explode because you're bottling it up and trying, and it's shaking, and eventually it's just gonna break.
Yeah.
And my breaking point was I had a couple, but one of the ones that I really just knew, we were we had just did we have Micah? No, we had just found out we were having Micah,
Okay.
and I had to go on maternity leave, and the job that I was at wasn't gonna cover. And then it just so happens
Mm.
that there was some situations on, the other end with my husband to where we were like, okay, how in the world are we about to have a baby, be on maternity leave, and provide? Like what? Like this child
Yeah.
needs things. What do you do with this? And we had no income. like none, you know. And I talk about it in the book, and I go into detail there. But we had, you know, a stranger come up to us. We have no idea who he was. We had somebody come up and we're like, okay, Lord, I am struggling. I have nothing else to give. And people who work with me, even T, can attest to my mental state. I was just gone, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm gonna take my hands off, because I've legit done everything that I can think of that I can do. I can't do it. You said you were with me. You said you've been with me. You said you'd be a provider, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to test you. I'm going to see if you're really going to be here like you said you were going to be here.
That's
And
so good.
I was done. Like,
Yep.
knocked out cold. I was done. I left my hands off of it. And Jay, when I tell you, my husband called me, parents called me while I was at work, and full of emotion.
Hold on, you're breaking up.
This person called my husband, like, hey,
Yep.
come meet me. Can you hear me?
I got you now.
So this person called me, was like, hey, okay, cool. So he says, come meet me at such and such. And so my husband meets him. He's like, hey, and there's this guy, he doesn't know, walks up to him. He's like, hey, I want to give you this. Hands him an envelope and walks off. We have no idea who it was. The guy hands us $5,000.
That never happens to me. Man.
Never. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, you know, wait a minute, like, how does this, I don't understand. And then in that moment, you're like, okay, I broke. I asked for help. God came to me. Yeah. I know he's real. So now it made me know that, let me put my faith in him. You know, another point was I was driving, and I got ran off the road by an 18-wheeler. And my car should have, I can't even understand today, but my car should have flipped several times to where I would have been on the other side of the highway. And all I heard was a voice saying, just put your hands on the wheel. You ain't gonna steer the car. Just put your hands on the wheel. I didn't even realize I was crying, and my face was wet, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm crying the whole time. My car didn't flip. You know, it's like some of those highways where they have like the hill in the middle of the median.
Yeah.
So where it's nothing but grass and then more cars on the other side.
Yeah.
My car should have flipped several times, but I just had my hand on the wheel. Landed safely, no scratches, nobody was hurt. The other car that was affected, and I'm like, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, Lord, I hear you. I've been doing it my way.
I get it, right?
I get it. You know what I mean?
So people don't understand. Sometimes it takes a near-death experience.
Yeah, legit. You know, we could joke about it now, but I'm just like,
no, yeah.
Man, at the time, I'm like, you really don't know. And so for me, just certain things that he's blessed me with and blessed my family with, there's no way that I would have been able to do it without him. And so in those breaking moments, I realized I didn't have nothing else but to call God. Like, and sometimes it wasn't even prayers. It was just like tears. But he understood how I was feeling. I couldn't get any words. And, you know, I grew up in church, and those old people would just be like, if you just hum, he'll hear you. And I never understood. I'm like, okay, well, you're not saying any words. You're not doing anything. I don't understand. How can he hear you? You know, but at that moment, I'm like, in those breaking points where I was struggling, I'm like, oh my Lord, God, I can't. I'm in the middle of a call, and I'm about to quit this job and walk out. But I can't, because my family has to still eat. Or, you know what I mean? I still got to do certain things for my household. So, no, okay, God, I'm just going to put my hand in the air just to show that I'm surrendering. You know, and then for me, my breaking point happened, but what came from it was my surrender. And in my surrender, I believe that he blessed me. And he was like, okay, I see your heart. I know that you're really wanting to put me first now in every aspect. And I think for me, that was where I turned, and I'm like, okay, do I, you know, stumble here and there? Yeah, we're human, you know, but overall, I understand that, you know, putting him first and moving myself out the way completely, that's what I have to do, you know, and every day's not going to be to where you're like Superwoman. There are days where I have to call my friends and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. I can't pray. I'm pissed off. I don't have it today. Can you pray for me? And that's where the relationship that God put in my life were building me back up in times where I was weak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah.
I like what you said. I think you said being broken is inevitable.
Yes, absolutely.
And people take that for granted. So like, I mean, even like starting your business, getting to where you are now, people underestimate the grind, right?
Yeah.
And there's a a YouTube video. I think it's like Nike created or something. I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody know in life and heard it, but it's like and like, and then this boy, it's this guy with a deep voice, the grind. It's this guy hitting the
Yeah,
alarm clock. You know what I'm talking about? Like 4 in the
yeah,
morning, and he
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah.
and it's mainly for like sports, but you can kind of apply it to your life, and you know, it's just about pushing through, pushing
Mm-hmm.
past your limits and things like that. It's super motivational.
That's dope.
There was a call it reminded me of that too. There's a call to action kind of like in your book towards the end. It was like truth or dare, right? Or it's like,
Yes, yeah.
so what was that like for you? Because you explained it, cultivating it, you know. Now we're towards the end of the book. Now it's like, all right, I gave you the roadmap, purpose,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the book with
Yeah.
the matte design looking all good, right? But it's like it was like a call to action to people, and I thought that was so like what's the word? Eloquent, for lack of better words.
Yeah, sure.
Prolific, even looking at my dictionary. No.
Word of the day or no?
Right. But I think people need that more than ever. It's because they even tell you, like in
Yeah.
businesses, you send out marketing emails like, yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
give these people all this information and just expect them to just buy it or expect them to just do whatever. And this is like a business tip as well. So you're getting all these free
Yeah.
gems today. No tech talk,
Appreciate
no. But
it.
no, it's for both of us. That's what I'm saying.
Right, right,
I
right.
always say we got to charge for these. No. So there's a call to action. So like even in the marketing email, you give people all this information like LST designs. All right, book here. Or
Mm-hmm.
like what you see, you know, you give people the opportunity because we're, you know, even in like in the recruiting world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get an applicant, great guy, great female, whatever. Talk to him, the one join us. So I'm doing all, you know, I'm doing all of this stuff. So you can tell the
Yeah.
interest. Oh yeah, I want to be this in the Army. I want to be that. I want, and so you think you got him, right?
Yeah.
Until it's time to do whatever, to sign
Mm-hmm.
dotted line or whatever. Then, but I think when I was getting taught, and this is the same thing I was taught like in my whole life, because I've always had a job running in my mouth. It was like, did you ask them, do they want
Yeah.
to join the Army? And it seems so trivial.
Yeah.
They said they brought their social, they brought the documentation,
Mm-hmm.
they picked the day out to go, but he's like, did you ask them? And
Yeah.
it's like people are so afraid to just like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, to just do it.
It's that mindset, dude. Like people, you never know people's backstory. Like it could have
Yeah,
been, their mama, their grandmama, their daddy telling them, no, you can't do this, or what you want isn't
yeah,
practical. Our parents grew up in a generation where what they needed to do, they had to just push and grind to provide for their family.
mm-hmm,
And some of them, their dreams legit were deferred. They weren't able to live in their dreams. And I saw so many people, older and younger. I don't like to see people just walk over their dreams and just literally leave something, a gift, just lying on. That's like leaving $400, taking it out your wallet and put it on the ground and say, here, I don't want to use it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Why would you do that? No, let's take this gift and invest it and push. And I think, a lot of people having that mindset of, okay, well, so many people told me that I couldn't.
mm-hmm,
Why can I now? Because all you have to do is say yes to yourself. You're saying yes to yourself. You're saying yes to God. You're saying, here, use me.
mm-hmm.
And I played truth or dare on so many reasons that were bad,
Oh yeah,
but really daring myself to know, okay, I dare you. It's like people need some type of push. Either
yeah,
I dare you to do this, to step out on faith and to walk into something that you're good at, start that business, write that book, go to school, go get this degree. No, go do
yeah,
it. Who's stopping you? There is no negative, because if it doesn't work, you're still going to be in the same place. So why not? You
mm.
know, or even just giving people, some people need permission. Some people have been told no all their life. All they need is for somebody to just say,
Yes,
yo,
yes,
it's
yeah,
it's okay for you to do it. Nothing's stopping you. You have what you need.
mm-hmm,
Go and do it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so for me, I just saw so many people just stuck. And I'm just like, no, I dare you to do it. And you have permission. You don't need it, but you have the permission to do it. Because
mm-hmm,
like some people operate to where they've been told what to do so many times in their life. Even work, you 9 to 5. Okay, I'll use a call center for example. Okay, well, you're on a clock. So you do break, you do here, you're on the phones, and then here you can go and have a potty break right here. Some
yeah.
people legit need, you know what I'm saying? Some people legit
Can I use the
need
bathroom?
permission to
Right,
just, right. They need
right,
permission to go and live on purpose. So no, in my book, I really wanted to empower people and motivate them and push them. Even if it's small. Like I'm not saying, you have a dream today, and then tomorrow, boom, you're going to be 100% there. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying all those baby steps will eventually equate to the greatness that you're pushing yourself towards. But you have to believe in yourself. It's one thing for me to believe in you. Jay can believe in you on the podcast, but if you don't believe in yourself and believe that it's something that's possible, even outside of spirituality, if you don't think that you can do something, it's not going to get done. And so in my call to action, I really wanted to push people to take themselves to a next level, even if it's something as simple as, okay, today I'm gonna wake up in the morning and I'm gonna say to myself that I love my job instead of I hate my job.
Yeah.
I did that. I
I do it
hate.
all
There
the
were plenty of times
time.
where I hate. You know what I'm saying? I hated my job, or
Yeah. I
I'm
really do
rich,
love my
or
job though, but
whatever.
sometimes I hate my
Yeah,
job.
right. Of course, you know what I mean. But
Yeah, I got you.
you're still, what you're doing is still in line with, what I'm saying. What it's still
Mm-hmm.
talking, so you get it. But of course, there aren't going to be, every day's not going to be easy. But it's in those
Yeah.
hard moments. Here's the thing: when you're struggling, your character and who you are shows the most when you're struggling. When you're in the trenches and you're getting punched, who are you really? I think I talked about it in the book where I'm talking about, a scene from Creed where
Which one?
Creed 2.
Oh
If
yeah.
you ain't seen it, I'm finna
Fire.
spoil it because at
Spoil
this
it. It's
point
it
it's
can't, it's
already
on
been out.
Amazon
You know what I
Prime
mean?
already. It's whatever.
Exactly. So there's a point where Creed got beat up by the Russian dude, right?
Yeah.
He
Oh, he
don't
got
want to
toe
fight
up
no
too.
more. It
Yeah.
was horrible. That dude got beat down. That's how I felt in life, bro. And I was like, okay, I'm just done. I don't want
Yeah.
to do nothing. His girl, like, okay, well, I don't know what to do with him. No, he needed to be pushed. He needed to get to a different level.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most powerful scenes is when he's when he's in the desert, right?
Yep.
And he's getting punched and he keeps getting beat, but
Mm-hmm.
he keeps going. He keeps stepping back into the ring, and he's
Yeah.
like, Rocky's telling him, he's like, no, I need to teach you how to fight when you're hurt. I need to teach you
Ooh.
and prepare you, right? When it's one thing to prepare for a fight, you're gonna win. But to prepare for something to get hit, it's like God has already equipped you to,
Wow.
put on a full weight. It's like, okay, well, if I'm already this close in the trenches and I'm getting hit and I'm getting knocked down, but I know what it feels like to be beat. I know what it feels like to be hurt. I know what it feels like to be on the ground. By the time and you're conditioning yourself for that struggle, I believe, like, if we're building and we're conditioning ourselves for the struggles that we're going through, by the time that something else comes up, you can be like, okay, what's next? Okay, well, I struggled with losing a job. All right, cool. I lost another one. All right, what's up? Let me apply for unemployment. Let me do this. Let me do that. But none of it stopped me from moving in my
Wow.
purpose. It's a blessing. I learned from it. What's next? A lot of the times we're struggling and we're going in different cycles because we didn't learn the first time. And if we stopped and, I talk about in the book, like, prepare for your struggles. How do you do that? Because you know when the struggle's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But if you're prepared before it gets there, it's still going to hurt, but you know how to fight the battle. You know
You
how to
stay
push
ready.
through.
You ain't gotta get ready.
Exactly. And I think, like, that movie is just, like, excellent to where it just really shows that by the time he got back into the fight at the end, boy, I was like in tears. I'm like, oh
Oh
man,
yeah.
and it was so powerful for me because that movie was like a visual example of me struggling. And I was like, Terrence looking at me, why are you crying? Baby, you don't understand. You don't get
Listen,
it.
I got a plug for you. So I cried on Sing. Remember that cartoon, Sing?
That was a good movie,
I'm
man.
still
I love
standing.
that
Woo!
movie.
I'm still
Yes.
standing.
I love it.
Listen,
It's for my daughter, but that's okay.
I
I
watch
think I
it
was
by
more
myself. That is
invested than
one of
she
my
was.
favorite movies. When that dude
Right.
was like, "I'm still standing," yeah, I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I'm like, it was
Right.
because I'm still standing throughout
Yeah,
all
you're
this
still here.
mess and all the stuff that little gorilla, whatever it was, went through.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was something. Well, I love what you said, and this is gonna be the title of the episode. You just changed it. Fight when
Awesome.
you're hurt.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
awesome, man. Oh my goodness, that's good. You got to charge for this one. I don't want to spoil. What you say?
I was just gonna say, just press the donate button to your
Donate.
podcast,
Right. I'm
bro.
gonna say that in a minute. Right. I don't want to spoil too much of the book. Let me just say too. I'm so proud of you. I hear y'all
Thank you so
talking all the
much,
time.
man.
I'm so proud of you. Your family's beautiful. The struggle piece, I think is gonna hit home with people. You have a lot of great nuggets, a lot of great quotes, and I see it like being reflected through your life. I've
Thank
seen the
you.
growth of you through Tiana.
Yeah.
your relationship with God, and your as a woman. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
the whole concept. And I think it's perfect that you came at this point in time. Just like at the beginning of the episode, like I don't think that was on. I don't think that was a coincidence that it was right after I was feeling bad, because
Yeah.
and it's something too that I know the book was so purpose driven, because everybody. I mean, this book is literally for everybody, and I can say
Right.
that like wholeheartedly, because everybody struggles, whether you believe in God or not. For why am I here? If
Yeah.
this Topo Chico bottle is my God, I'm gonna pray to this bottle. Like, what's my purpose, bottle?
Yeah.
It's just like
Right.
everybody wants to
Exactly.
know why they're here, because the people, the prodigies get on my nerves. Like,
Yeah.
you give the dude a drums. I mean, I play the drums, or whatever, but I'm always looking like some 7-year-old that's like works for like Thomas drums or something. I'm like,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
care. The people
Yeah.
have it. It comes so easily, but when you struggle with it, I think you appreciate it a lot more, and you're able to operate.
Absolutely.
And it spoke.
Yeah.
The book
You
spoke to me.
treasure it.
Yes,
Yeah.
man. So, any last words before we get to the last segment of the podcast?
Man, just encouraging people just to push yourself a little bit further than you did before.
Mm,
Change how you view your situation. If you're bogged down and you're just stuck,
yeah.
change how you're viewing it. Look at it from a sense of, okay, well, while I'm here, let me put in work to get to where I really want to be, and just
Yeah.
understand that it's a process. It's going to take time. You're going to get hurt, but you can have a support, and what you're going through, all of the turmoil, all the struggle, it's going to have a point, and it's going to mean so much more when you get it, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
value. And just to be able to watch who you are right in that moment,
Yeah.
to who you can change into, is a beautiful thing, man. So I encourage people, if you're struggling, look, I'm even opening up, if you want prayer, they got I'm sure you're gonna put my stuff in the bio, but
Yeah.
hit me up. I don't mind, you know what I mean? Because I know what it's like to hurt and to struggle,
Yeah.
and I just want to help other people. So I just encouraging everybody just to don't give up, keep going.
That's
You know what I
what's
mean?
up. So, we're now at the part of the podcast of No Tact Talk where you have a perfectly curated scripture just for you, Miss
Lovely,
Henderson.
lovely.
Yes, no one will ever get this scripture in the future of the podcast, and they have not gotten this scripture in the past, in the last 14 episodes. I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of scripture, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
It's a big book.
Right. I'm going to be like, Jesus whip. That's your scripture.
Right.
In the beginning, God created. No, so Jeremiah 29:11. Was
Bro,
that the one?
yes,
You
that's the one. That's
lied. Ah.
that's the one that's like, for I know the plans I have for you, plans that
Yes, for
prosper you.
I know the
Yes.
plans
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. That's so funny. I had 3 other
Yes.
ones that I was looking through, and this one, like, that's crazy. We talked about
Yeah.
this prior to the episode, y'all. She said she pretty much guessed the scripture. Yeah, it wasn't no guess. It was in the spirit. We're gonna say that.
I felt it. I did feel it. I was like, he said, I was like, how many 20? There's a whole bunch of 29:11s in the Bible, but what are the odds he gonna pick this one?
So what it means to me, and then obviously, you come in and say what it means to you, and then we'll get out of here. I want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
I think this scripture is very you can stretch this scripture a lot, because of course,
Yeah.
you could read it in one season, I could read another season, and we can get something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just recognizing that there is a plan for you,
Yeah.
which is what most people kind of need. I think that started the baby milk of Christianity,
Right.
or coming to Christ, right? Is
Right.
to realize that there is a plan, ultimate, supernatural, divine plan for you. You didn't just be born just to be born. You're not just living
Yeah.
just to live. You're not just even working at Wendy's just to work at
Right.
Wendy's.
Right.
And so it's recognizing that, and so you're empowered in that moment when you realize that, oh man, there's a God that has
Yeah.
a plan for me. There's a God that just is strategically put me in these places on purpose, right? No pun intended, on purpose.
Right.
Now,
Right.
and those plans to include to prosper and not to hurt you. So when you
Yeah.
realize that, because the world hurts you,
Yes.
your husband, your wife will hurt you,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
children will
Oh
hurt
my
you.
goodness.
No matter how young they are, they will pinch you, whatever, right? And then it ends with a hope in the future, because hope is now that's a cliche word if you ever want to use one, and especially in the superhero community. Everybody know I love superheroes, but hope is something that that we're going through now, like with the riots and COVID, and yes, that's faith, but we want. I think at the end of the day, people want something to believe in, to hope in.
Of course.
And he wraps it up so well in this scripture. So anyway, that's for me. What you think?
So for me, for I know the plans I have for you. It's for me, it's saying, it's like, okay, for I know the plans I have for you. You don't know the plan. You have no idea what it is. So for me, I would always, okay, well, you got to be doing this, because if you do this, spiderweb, trying to map it all out. It doesn't. It's not going to go the same way, because that's not the way he designed it. He designed the plan, so you don't know what it is. It's like the coach on a football team. Coach knows the plays. He's going to call the plays based off of what he sees. You may not know. You may not be able to see what he sees. So for me, really surrendering and allow God, okay, for I know the plans I have for you. Okay, for me, I don't know what it is, but there's trust in it. Being vulnerable enough to let God have your trust, and knowing that, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So it's gonna result, even though those struggles they're hard right now, eventually there's something good gonna come out of it. He's not gonna harm you. So everything you're going through, it's gonna hurt, but you're not gonna die from it. You're not gonna, you know what I mean? You're not gonna be. So if you trust him and don't give up, and you have hope and understand that there's gonna be something greater, especially with everything going on right now. If yes, it's gonna hurt right now, or there's that pruning stage where we have to really focus on what it is that we're struggling with, and push past that. It's just it's my favorite scripture, and I even have it on a bracelet. So that's why I said it's funny you picked that verse, right? But for me, it's just in those times where I'm really just down, it is so encouraging and motivating to know. So, yes, is it frustrating to know that I don't know the plan? No, I don't know it, but I know God's heart, and I know his.
You just got to be ready to execute.
Yeah, exactly. I can speak to who he's been before. And if he did it, legit cliche, he did that back then. I'm still here because of him. So plans to prosper you, not to harm you. I'm supposed to be in the grave. My car was supposed to flip, but I'm still here. He didn't harm me. I'm still here. You know what I mean? So it's just a very encouraging scripture. And I think it speaks to what's to come of my life. Prosper could mean so many different things, but I'm grateful and I look forward to it.
That's good.
And to go through a struggle and be able to still be excited, that's how it's growth, where you come out motivated versus depressed, encouraged versus, feeling like you want to give up, and that verse is just really, it's one to my heart, you know what I mean? So that would be my example. And, it's a charge to other people to look at the verse if you've never read it before.
I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited.
Thank you for
having me. Thank you for having me, man.
So let everybody know where they can reach you, the Instagrams, the medias, the websites, all that.
Absolutely. I am on Instagram. It's at L'Oreal.Henderson. For those who cannot spell it, that's okay. It's LOREAL Henderson, HENDERSON. And for those who want to see my art that we mentioned before, you can at my company page is at LST Designs.
Get your logo here today. Right.
Yeah. And then for my website, for people who want to buy the book, I would love for you to read the book and share my experiences with other people, and just use it as a guide to be encouraged for whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
It's www.lstdesignsconsulting.com.
Yep, and that's all gonna be in the bio.
Dope. Super dope.
And you can also, my shameless plug, go notacttalk.com. Help LST Designs help do that logo on there as well. It's the first thing you're gonna see. It's amazing. If you'd like to share or support the podcast, that would be great. You can go on the website, notacttalk.com. You can also go in the bio and go to anchor.com and support there as well. This is always a reminder to live on purpose, live with no tact in your life. Peace.
Thanks, guys.